just want to know how my daughter's doing. We're mucking about, playing in the kitchen, and for some reason, this has gone really weird.
A man who claimed his daughter died in a freak accident during a play fight with a knife has been found guilty of her murder. Scarlett Vickers, 14, bled to death at her home in July after suffering a 4-inch deep stab wound to her chest. Simon claimed him and Scarlett were, quote, mucking about when the knife plunged into his daughter's chest, but the forensic evidence would show otherwise. A pathologist told Crown Court it was practically impossible for the wound to have been caused by a knife which had been thrown in the manner Simon claimed it had been. Simon had told the court he and Scarlett's mother, Sarah Hall, quote, would never harm their daughter, adding, "She was our life, our purpose." On the day of July 5th, her parents had said Scarlett came out of her bedroom to say she was bored. Simon says this is when they started playing around, throwing grapes at each other in the kitchen. Sarah was cooking at this time. Sarah told police and paramedics she had got the knife out to cut garlic bread and placed them next to some tongs. Simon told the court he swiped a pair of tongs towards Scarlett, which must have caught a knife that he had not seen. Quote, "She just shouted and fell to the floor." During his recorded police interview, he insisted that he had not seen the knife at the time and had not realized he had thrown a blade in her direction. Scarlett's mother backed up this version of events, telling jurors she believed it was an accident and her partner of 27 years would never harm their daughter. In an earlier admission, Simon said Scarlett, quote, lunged towards him, and the blade of the kitchen knife, quote, just went in. "It wasn't even hard, it was nothing," Simon said, before adding, "There wasn't even any effort into it."
I just want to know how my daughter's doing. We're mucking about, playing in the kitchen, and for some reason, this has gone really weird. I mean, we're mucking about. I can't believe this. I don't know what it is at some point. What? Please, someone tell me. What's going on? We're cooking tea. There's nothing about in the kitchen. I don't understand how this happened. Honestly.
The pathologist concluded that Scarlett's fatal injury was not from a blade being thrown at her, but rather it must have been inflicted by a blade being firmly held in the defendant's hand when she was stabbed. The same pathologist, Dr. Jennifer Bolton, carried out a post-mortem examination. She found that the kitchen knife penetrated the chest wall between the 5th and the 6th ribs, went through her lower lung, and passed into the left ventricle of her heart. In this case, Scarlett died very quickly from blood loss. Dr. Bolton also noted that kitchen knives were not designed to be thrown, and the blade would have had to strike at a 90-degree angle to pass through Scarlett's pajama into her chest, otherwise it would have bounced off her. She also said that it doesn't miraculously just puncture the skin 4 inches deep and then comes out again. Simon said that Scarlett was a normal and cheeky teenager, a fantastic daughter who was good at most things she did. He said he had drunk about 4 glasses of wine and smoked cannabis on the evening of July 5th, while watching football, and all 3 were happy and in a good mood. Police also examined the family's phone and found no evidence showing ill treatment of Scarlett, and her school had no concerns about her life at home. Simon's lawyer said that he was already serving a, quote, life sentence after Scarlett's death. When Simon took the witness stand, he told jurors that becoming a father was the, quote, best feeling I've ever had. Him and Scarlett's mother, Sarah Hall, had been trying for a baby for years and previously suffered a miscarriage. He said, quote, "I spoiled her. As my mom would say, she had me wrapped around her little finger." Sarah also spoke to his defense, saying the trio was, quote, inseparable. She stressed that she had never had any concerns that her partner would ever harm their daughter. She said, quote, "We had a very happy family life. We all loved each other very much. We lived in a little bubble." Simon treated Scarlett very well. He was a very hands-on dad. He loved her very much. She added, She was my little girl. She was my best friend. She always came first for the both of us. After 13 hours of deliberating their verdict, jurors reached a majority agreement, with 10 finding Simon Vickers guilty of murder. Sarah Hall was stunned when the verdict was read, and Simon remained emotionless. Durham Police Detective Superintendent Craig Rudd said, quote, Scarlett Vickers would have celebrated her 16th birthday this year. She had her whole life ahead of her, yet it was cruelly cut short by her own father, a man who was meant to protect her. We may never know why or what caused Simon Vickers to do what he did that night. Sadly, today's verdict will not bring Scarlett back, but he will now face the consequences of his actions.
Scarlett Vickers would have celebrated her 16th birthday this year. She had her whole life ahead of her, yet it was cruelly cut short by her own father, a man who was meant to protect her. We may never know why or what caused Simon Vickers to do what he did that night, and sadly today's verdict will not bring Scarlett back, but he will now face the consequences of his actions. I would like to thank my investigation team for their tireless efforts in getting justice for Scarlett, and the community for their cooperation and understanding while we carried out our inquiries. Our thoughts remain with those who cared about Scarlett. Thank you.
Can you just say how?
I just want to know how my daughter's doing. We're mucking about playing in the kitchen. And for some reason, this has gone really weird. I mean, we're mucking about. I can't believe this. I don't know what it is at some point. What? Please, someone tell me. What's going on? We're cooking tea. There's nothing about in the kitchen. I don't understand how this happened. Honestly.